Nation and College Football Nation. Apparently, we had some, excuse me, technical difficulties, but we are back now. We're discussing the Ohio State Penn State matchup. Jim Knowles coming to town. We were kind of
Hey, we're
discussing
good.
whether
We're
he
good.
knows what's that.
We're good.
All right. We were kind of discussing whether or not Jim Knowles knowing our offense is an advantage, and kind of came to the conclusion that it's not really an advantage anymore because, excuse me, because Day is running a non-up tempo offense now. He's changed some things. He's evolved, and Knowles was there for 3 years, so yes, he studied Day for a while, but Day has changed things up, and so Penn State won't have that advantage moving into this game. Um, I was going to discuss a little bit about Katron Allen and Nick Singleton. They're their superstar backs, man, and they've eaten against other teams, but 2022 was the only time that Allen and Singleton combined to go over 100 yards versus Ohio State. So yes, they've been dominant in the minnow games, but in the big games, the Michigans, the Penns, Ohio States, they just haven't
I,
produced. And so,
I
you
will.
know, I'm not really afraid of them,
Yeah, I
despite being
will.
amazing backs. I think they're the best back in tandem in college football,
Yeah, I
but
I
they don't
will.
have the whole line.
Yeah, I will say that this new coach finally got it right. Which I mean, I thought this myself that Katron Allen should be the featured back and not Nick Singleton.
Yeah.
Katron Allen's more explosive. He's more shifty.
Yep.
He can catch passes out of the backfield as well and take it the distance. So we're gonna see a lot more Katron Allen in this game, and it's you got to have a game plan for him because he'll uh he'll make you pay definitely. So
Thanks for tuning back in, Cliff, and thanks for letting us
yeah,
know.
thanks, Cliff.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting to see. I can't remember if it was Allen or Singleton that went for 145 versus Iowa um, recently, but they really have performed well in the in the minnow games. But in the big games against the better defensive lines, let's be honest, man. Penn State just has not had the offensive lines to feature their backs the way they need to be featured. Even Saquon Barkley had issues getting big open holes in big games, except for the one Michigan game. Um, he should have had way better numbers than he did in Happy Valley. But the O lines that Franklin has brought in just weren't producing those results. And we're seeing the same results here. And that's a big part of why Franklin's fired, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was actually Katron Allen who did get a bulk of the carries in the Iowa game. He is the dude who went for 145. I mean, man, like it was so obvious that this whole time Katron Allen was the better back, dude. Maybe not the first year they were a tandem, but the second year, the third year, I mean, especially last year, dude.
Yeah.
Katron Allen was. I mean, they got it right this time. But I mean, you have a just new starter at quarterback heading into Columbus, first big game, big noon. It's gonna be blackout. It's gonna be electric.
Absolutely.
And just like, man, you're going up against a Matt Patricia coach defense.
Good
And
luck.
again, this is your first game in a very hostile, electric environment. How do you? I mean, I don't know how this quarterback's gonna respond, man. I mean, he could really shrink at the moment and make a lot of mistakes. They may have to lean on their ground game.
Well, it's his second career start. And like I said at the jump in the other broadcast, he's in Ohio in the group of Buckeyes. So he's going to have a lot of friends and family in attendance. He's going to have all eyes in him. Always dreamed of playing in that stadium. Now he's going to do it for the first time. And we'll see if he can shrink or rise to the occasion because that's the Horseshoe is an intimidating venue for a lot of teams. And Ethan Gronkmeyer getting just his second career start. He's a redshirt freshman, man. He's young. That's a big shoes to fill. I know Drew Aller wasn't having the season that Penn State fans were hoping he would have, but there's still big shoes to fill. So,
Yeah,
I'm,
another man. Gosh, what was I gonna say? I mean, dude, another thing to look at is this could be a very this could be personal for Ryan Day and the
Yeah.
team, seeing how Jim Knowles exited. I mean, you had Devin Sanchez pretty much bookmark the main tweet where Jim Knowles accepted the Penn State job, and he put 11-1 to 25, dude. He
Yeah.
bookmarked that. So
Yeah.
they've had this on their mind. It's about to come into fruition of what how they've been feeling, what they're thinking about doing with this game. And I know that Day briefly spoke on Jim Knowles' departure. He gave him thanks. He gave him, he said, he deserves some credit for the national championship. No, Cliff. Terry Smith is the interim coach. So Terry Smith is the original staffer who has been with Penn State since James Franklin began at Penn State back in
Mhm.
2014. So I could imagine that, due to his loyalty and him, pretty much a lot of fans has said he's a player's coach and the players love him. So that could be, I mean, I could see them give him that to honor his commitment to the program. But, just going back to, this being personal, I mean, Jim Knowles' own sister went online to defend him. And, then you have other just fans bashing Ohio State, and everything's turning out to not be true, man. I mean, Jim Knowles was on the phone with Penn State even before the national championship game, and that was
So,
found out. Jim Knowles ghosted players, didn't even tell them where he is when they're trying to text him, wondering why he's not at the celebration. Uh, you know, Jim Knowles tried so hard to make it look like, Larry Johnson was getting in the way of him running his defense when it was actually, Jim Knowles' defense all along, because once that change was made, it's just like, where the heck was all this? Oh wait, that's right. We had to force Jim Knowles' hand and make him add in these things that we're seeing from Patricia. I mean, Patricia's pretty much running the same scheme, except he's putting a little
yeah,
extra on it, his
a little
own
flavor
touch.
on it.
And
That's
I
that's one
since
narrative that really ticked me off. And Buckeye Nation fell for it. The majority of Buckeye Nation fell for that narrative that LJ is past his prime. He's over the hill. He's lost his touch. I'm like, dude, he's the best defensive line coach of this century and the last. Like, no, it is not his problem. I stood on business with that take that I was not falling for that line.
I I'm
And
not I'm not gonna lie, man. If Mike Elston would have stayed at Michigan, he would be in the running as well.
yeah, yeah, it's true.
So
It's true.
yeah,
So,
but go
what were we
on.
gonna say?
No, I was gonna say, since we brought up Matt Patricia putting his own spin on it, let's compare
Yeah, buddy.
the defenses.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
Ohio State total defense, they have moved up to number 2 in the nation, 216 point 9 yards per game. Passing yards allowed third, 131.3 yards per game. Run defense, number 9, has given up 85.6 yards per game and one rushing touchdown all season.
Just
Sacks,
one.
21 sacks. Around this time last year, I don't even know how many sacks we had. It wasn't much. So again, the little spin that Matt Patricia is putting on Jim Knowles' defense is paying off.
Yeah.
Third down, it just keeps getting better and better. They are officially number 1 overall in third down, giving up only 19 out of 89. And that's part of the reason why they've been able to give their offense a lot more possessions and them controlling the time possessions. I mean, they're really great on getting off the field on third down. 19 out of 89. That's insane, dude. And then red zone, of
That's
course,
unreal
number
percentage.
1, 1 TD given up. Now let's look at Penn State's defense, because we're just so third down, 80th, 41 out of have only stopped 41 out of 102 attempts on third down. So Jim
Man.
Knowles' defense is not good at getting off the field on third down. Uh, so their total defense, they give up 303 yards per game. Passing yards allowed 145 yards per game. Now, I'm going to address that right now. Do
Hmm.
not be fooled by this. We've seen this before at Ohio State,
Yeah.
where when they play offenses with little to no pulse, not very good skill positions, they don't have
AKA
to
Big
get
Ten offenses.
they don't have to get to the quarterback. They don't have to put pressure and, finish the job by getting a sack. They're able to their cornerbacks and secondary can stick with the wide receivers because they're not that skilled. But when you get to the teams that have actual skilled players who
Yeah.
can make a difference, a quarterback with a pulse, an offense with a pulse, you get a game like they had against Oregon. Again, 424 yards total, 0 sacks, 20 first downs, and pretty much Dante Moore and the wide receivers 8. Again, dude, we look at last season, Ohio State against Oregon, the same thing, 0 sacks. Okay, over 450
Yeah,
yards.
in that first matchup,
The
yeah.
quarterback and the wide receivers 8, and the running game as well. I mean, so I'm not really fooled by that 145 yards per game in terms of passing, because this Ohio State team is not, the Iowas or the Northwesterns, even though they lost Northwestern. We're not the whoever else they beat up who doesn't have a pulse.
Right. Well, they
So
haven't registered a Big Ten win yet, man, and they haven't even played some of the premier offenses. So, yeah. And honestly, their non-con was one of the biggest jokes of all. They were getting clowned for it by the national media, playing Villanova and the likes, in their non-conference. So obviously, those games are going to boost your defensive stats as well when you're going up against inferior opponents. Let's just be honest on that too. So, what kind of success do you think Tate and Smith are going to have, man? I mean, we've got Tate coming in with 34 grabs, 587, and 6 touchdowns. And then Jeremiah Smith with 49 catches, 602 yards, and 7 touchdowns. You think we're going to find success through the air
I
at
think this
home?
is I think this is a game where you could see Julian saying air it out, man.
Could be bad, right?
Because just like, again, like what happens in Jim Knowles defense when they can't get pressure on a good quarter. I mean, Julian Saint's a great quarterback. And, we have great wide receivers. We have an elite offensive line who's given up
Yeah.
only 2 to 3 sacks this season. What's going
Mm-hmm.
to happen when you don't get pressure on the quarterback and the secondary can't stay with those receivers? What's going to happen? So,
Gaping holes,
yeah,
breaks over the top.
definitely gaping
We've
hole.
seen it in our 3 years, man. Breakdown in coverages. You mentioned the Oregon game. There's a lot of different games we could reference. The Michigan game in
The
2022.
Georgia game in
And
2022.
yeah, there's so many games that come to mind where it's just like so many defensive breakdowns in the secondary because not enough pressure is applied. So I'm expecting big things from the passing game. Obviously, I've harped on the running game, and I've seen other Buckeye podcasts harp on the running game too. But this is a day where I think Julian saying our wide receivers eat. Like, I don't think our run game is going to be too necessary. Now, I do want to see it develop, and it does need to get better. It absolutely does. But I don't think this is necessarily the game where we're going to have to be reliant on the run game. I think Saints going to have a monster performance and enter that Heisman conversation even more, if you ask me.
Yeah, I agree. Again, like this is pretty much the same defense that we've seen at Oklahoma State, at Ohio State. I mean, that's one of the reasons why Jim Knowles left. He was able to run his defense at Oklahoma State, but towards the end at Ohio State, it was enough is enough, dude. You're gonna kill our chances at winning a national championship. And Ryan Day forced his hand, and Jim Knowles didn't like that, so he went to a program where, I mean, dude, is James Franklin really gonna say anything to Jim Knowles, or this Terry Smith guy gonna say anything to Jim Knowles about playing about not running his own defense? He's at a
Right.
place where he's able to run his own defense. There's no interruptions, nothing. And you know what,
Especially
dude? Go on.
especially with the head coach gone. And um, the reverse of the question that I asked you is true too. Ryan Day has an intimate knowledge of Jim Knowles' defense, and as you pointed out, Rob, he hasn't changed. He hasn't adjusted. It is what he ran at Ohio State. And Ryan Day, being the elite offensive mind that he is, he's gonna pick that. He's gonna pick that sucker apart, and it's gonna be fun to watch. To Cliff's question, do you want to take that one, Rob?
Just be honest, I don't see Penn State win this game, but is there any chance OSU gets caught off guard? This is an Ohio State team who's just been taking care of business. They're very business-like. They're blocking out all the national media. They're just, I mean, this is the definition of the brotherhood, and which, by the way, I got to read that book. I mean,
I
it was
can't wait
like,
to get my hands on it.
dude. I mean, just by the front cover, man, of that Scoop and Score by Jack Sawyer. I mean, that is what made me think like, okay, we're gonna win the national championship game. Um, but
Yeah.
I don't know, man. If this was like 2024, if this was any other Ryan Day team, I would say there's a chance because one. Traditionally, Ryan Day teams aren't very good off the bye week. We've seen them before where they come out
Yep.
lethargic.
Yep.
And
Especially in
also
first halves.
Ryan Day just obviously way too much in social media, just buying into the media's narrative about how soft they are and stuff, and
Yep.
just all these other narratives that have been put on Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes. So I don't know. They're very businesslike. They just come out every weekend, take care of business, and then just go about their day, man. I don't see anything lethargic, unmotivated, or unprepared about this team. Now, do I think that Penn State comes in swinging and gives them a run for the money a little bit? Or at least until like the mid third quarter. Yeah, there's a chance because again, you're a 20-point underdog. Terry Smith is probably giving them the Michigan came in to the horseshoe last season as 21-point underdogs. They ended up winning, but so there's that speech more than likely giving as well. But this is a very business-like team with a lot of elite talent. Matt Patricia has been dialing up masterclass schemes week after week. I mean, like, it's crazy. Just this defense is. I'm going to say right now. This defense is looking to be better than last season, and that's scary. Seeing how
That is.
elite the defense finished last season. I mean,
Do you
you're
think they
seeing.
cover?
Oh man, I don't know if they cover, dude. I I
I've
don't.
gone back and forth too.
I I'm gonna say, oh man, I'm gonna say no.
Okay. I like
Yeah.
that take. I'm gonna go the opposite on this. And I cringed when I saw this spread. I said, you gotta be joking me. Like 20.5 versus this team. But honestly, a lot of that was clouded by past years, how every single year this game is close. And I'll be honest, man, like my confidence continues to grow in this team. I truly do think they cover this spread the more I've thought about it. um, it opened at 17.5, but now it's 20.5. I think that Day knowing Knowles' offense and the vendetta that you mentioned that Day has against Knowles and that some of his past players have against him, I think they're coming for they're coming for what Penn State has. They're not overlooking this opponent in any way. I think it's gonna be bad. I think
I
it's gonna
mean,
be bad.
talking more about Jim Knowles, dude. I don't. He's still doing this thing in the press box, and just tells me that he's not a player's coach. I mean, you guys like go out there. There's a clip out there of him after the Texas Ohio State game, coming down from the press box, meeting his players, and his players didn't just kind of like passing someone in the hallway at work type of thing that you're just there to work with, not really a genuine relationship. It's just a working relationship type of thing. And it was kind of like, oh, it's you, the dude in the press box who, yeah, you're a defense coordinator, but I don't really talk to you. And that was confirmed. I think it was, who was it, Peyton? Was it it was one of the linebackers who was asked about Jim Knowles. He's like, "Yeah, I've talked more to Matt Patricia than I did the entire time Jim Knowles was here, and
Yeah.
Matt Patricia's only been here like a week or two." So
Yeah.
that just tells you. And looking back on OG Walt and Laurinaitis being on and Larry Johnson being on the recruiting show with him,
Yeah.
there's a reason why that is, because just like he's not seeing that he's not really a relatable person. He's
It's
not.
not personable.
I mean, he's a mad scientist. He's an
He is.
X's and O's guy. Nobody's saying that he's not a mad scientist in terms of defensive scheming, and but he's an X's and O guy. So
Yeah, he's a football nerd to the max.
definitely with little to
I
no
must
people
I
skills.
must admit before we move on, like this is a game that I always circle and I always look forward to it. I usually have a a knot in my stomach the week of this game. And people always want to say this isn't a rivalry, and it's not. It isn't a rivalry. Um, the reason I know it's not a rivalry is because I don't watch every single Penn State game like I do maniacally for Michigan to study them, to know them, to learn about them, to see how they're doing, see how players are doing, see how their coaches are doing. I don't do that with Penn State. And although this game is circled every year on my calendar, it's unfortunate that it's not living up to the hype this year because Penn State weekend is a fun one to witness. But yeah, I think they get bludgeoned this weekend, Rob. I truly do. I think it's bad. I think it's something like the 2015 score where we beat them 38-10 in Columbus. I think it's something similar to that. That was our last big win over them.
Really? You think it's gonna be that bad? I mean, yeah. You know what?
I
This
do.
this this is personal.
I
It
do.
is, but
Yeah.
man, it's hot. I don't usually like getting teams to cover the spread unless it's a for sure thing.
It's a tough
So,
one.
yeah,
It's a tough one, but Ohio
it
State
is
has
a tough
covered
one.
6 of the 7 spreads so far this season. Like you
Yeah,
said, very professional, very businesslike. So if
yeah.
you're a better out there, I'm not, but if you're a better out there, you might. This is a tough one,
You,
I admit. This is
you,
a tough one, but Ohio
you,
State covers well.
you know what I think? We talk about business like. I think that, and you know what, you can agree, disagree. Matt Patricia has a big part in that. He has this defense humming. He has this defense business like. I mean, he says it's not about the destination, it's not about the journey, it's about the company, which means it's about the team you play for. It's about that brother next to you who you're fighting for every single weekend. I mean, he like I never heard such thought he had such capable of such great speeches. Like just absolutely
Because
crazy.
he sounded like such a moron when he was with the Lions. He's a totally different person. He's much happier. It's
Yeah.
very clear.
And he's lost a lot of weight, dude. I mean,
Lost a lot of weight. You can
he looks
tell
a lot
his
healthier.
personal life has changed.
And here's
It's
the thing, man. Like,
something changed.
yeah, here's the thing. Like, we heard all this nonsense off season. It was probably more than likely from a bunch of disgruntled Lions fans myself. But I would like, dude, I'm like, give him a chance. He's a Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator. He tried to be a head coach for the Lions, but just because he's not a good head coach doesn't mean he's not going to be a good defensive coordinator in college.
Exactly.
I know the
I
last time he was in college was back in the day at Syracuse, and they're like, "Oh, well, the players hate him. He's going to ruin Ohio State. He's going to ruin the locker room." And that's just the complete opposite. Like,
One of our friends, Andrew, that we know, a mutual friend of ours, he's still holding grudges against Matt Patricia. He doesn't care. All the stats I show him, he's up for the Royals Award for top assistant. He does not care. He says he's a jackass, and he always will be. So yeah, it is what it is. We're not going to convince Michigan fans that he's changed and he's better, and we're certainly not going to convince Lions fans that he's better and changed.
yeah,
So it's just what it is. But
if
moving on to sorry,
if
go ahead.
if Penn State really wants to have a chance, you always got to look at that third down matchup. Ohio State only given up 18 out of 89 tries on third down. If Penn State wants to have a chance, they need to find ways to convert on third down, which obviously every other team has failed to do so. I mean, that's if they want to stay in this game and make it somewhat of a fight.
It's going to be one of the keys, man. And honestly, the fact that we forced 89 third downs through, excuse me, through 7 games so far is pretty awesome too. That means we're getting to them consistently, and we're getting off the field that consistently. It's pretty amazing. But moving on to the coaching carousel, man. There's been so many firings this season, something like we've never seen before, bro. Like 10 firings before November. This is a new age we are in college football. I personally believe this is the new norm. I don't know if it'll be, 10 to 15 firings every season, but I think this is kind of the new norm in the sense that the boosters are running the programs more than ever now because they're paying coaches buyout salaries. They're paying for the players to play. They're paying their own coaches' salaries. And so they have a much bigger say now that everything's above the table. And we see openings at big jobs. Florida, LSU, and Penn State, the biggest three. Florida State, I don't know what the frick they're waiting for, but Norvell is absolutely getting fired.
I
And
think
it
John
seems
Smith
like
as
Fickle
well.
will too at Wisconsin. So
Smith at Michigan State.
Smith at Michigan State too. We're gonna have plenty in the Big Ten. UCLA is opening. That's not a big job, but it's a Big Ten job that's open right now. And do you think this is the new norm? Because I'm absolutely convinced this is how things are gonna move for year after year now, moving forward.
I mean, let me just put it this way. In politics, you have all these big donors
Yeah,
who
yeah,
fork out money to those who, are on the campaign trail, and they want results. And what's gonna happen? They don't get the results. Come time for the next bid, they're not gonna fork over the money, and they're just gonna look for the next one. This is exactly what's happening. This is what is happening in the era of NIL, and no, you have all these big time donors paying for their rosters are and contracts. Are they really going to want to be patient and see their money go to waste, or are they going to move on to the next person and bring out the checkbook?
sure. To Cliff's point, Fickle and Smith just look personally defeated and broke on the sidelines. I've never seen Fickle look like this. He's always locked in, dialed in, focused. He doesn't have that killer look on his face, man. He doesn't, and it's discouraging. I think the 3 consecutive quarterbacks getting injured 3 years in a row, I think that's really done a number on him. It's like, what do I have to do to keep a quarterback healthy? Well, maybe recruit some offensive linemen that Wisconsin is used to
Well,
getting.
to his defense, like, he was given such a crappy situation.
It
I
was
mean,
bad.
Wisconsin has not had nearly close. I mean, to a top 40 recruiting class in forever. There's no recruiting. I think there's little to no NIL. It's just given a complete dumpster fire situation, and you know you can see that he's giving it his all, but dude, like, I think he's finally waking up and seeing it for what it is, and
Yeah,
I think this is after this they're just gonna meet. I think they're gonna mutually part ways, and there's not gonna be any love lost. Now
right.
Smith, he was also given a
Well,
dumpster fire as well, but I don't think he understands the Michigan State rivalry, and just
no.
also just the state of the program after Mel Tucker. I mean, you had a depleted roster. Some players entered the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Players decommitted. And just I don't even know how they are on they're terrible on the recruiting trail as well. They can't get a 5-star. They're that team that gets 3 and 4 stars and maybe an occasional high 4-star, but nothing special. And like from what I hear, they're fighting with the administration. That's why Saban didn't stay around, because they weren't going to give him the keys to the program to build a consistent national title contender. And the same as Meyer. Meyer was prepared to be the Michigan State head coach, but they didn't give him the keys to be able to build a consistent perennial powerhouse. They don't want to fork over the money. I mean, we talked about this last time. I mean, Michigan State
Yeah.
is getting in the way of Michigan State, and that's it. And in the era of NIL, you gotta fork over the money. You have to open up the checkbook. You need to get your big donors involved. But we did see one of our buddies sent us this tweet by Magic Johnson, pretty much saying it's getting hard to show up and watch this Michigan State
Yeah,
team. I could imagine he's one of the big donors, and he's talking about like we can't wait around forever for this coach to get going. So let's see. But
no,
D'Antonio could take a team of 3 stars and do magic with them. But were how many 3 stars? I get what you're saying, Cliff, but I can imagine there were more 4 stars than 3 stars with him. Like he
there
could
were.
he could recruit, but he did do more with less. I will say that. But I mean,
He
not every coach is able to do that.
he had an eye for talent, and let's be honest, man. There was an opening. Ohio State still there. The opening is still there. Ohio State only takes about 6 or 7 players from Ohio, a very talent-rich state, a top 10 talent-producing state year in and year out for college football and basketball, for that matter. But since there's openings there, and D'Antonio lived and coached his whole life in Ohio, he had those connections and those relationships in all those high schools, and he was cleaning up in Ohio. Over half his roster was from Ohio, and with Jonathan Smith being a West Coast guy, an Oregon guy, he didn't have those connections, and they need a guy that has the underdog mentality. They're not going to get a top name. Let's just be completely honest. They don't spend the NIL. They don't have the funding. They don't have the resources or the facilities to attract a top level coach. They do need an underdog guy with connections to the state of Ohio who has a vendetta against Michigan. Maybe
You
that's
know,
Matt Campbell. Maybe that's somebody else. Hmm.
I think I mentioned this because you and Matt were bringing up some big names. I'm like, dude, Michigan State is definitely not that program who's going to get a big name at first. They're not a program who has room to be impatient, but at the same time, you see Jonathan Smith already giving up and not this team's looking not motivated, uninspired, no imagination. I'm pretty sure that the team doesn't like each other. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
they're fed up with Aiden Childs. I'm pretty sure that
sure.
they're more than likely fed up with John Smith. I mean, I can
Yeah,
imagine that the fans are. I mean, like,
yeah.
yeah, they came out and played pretty much almost their hearts out against Michigan,
The first half
but
anyway.
dude, Childs didn't do much, man. Inconsistent
50% completion percentage.
and just like I don't know, man. Will they give him another year? They should, because again, like
It
Michigan
probably should.
State is not a school who can afford to be impatient because they're not going to really, get many big names. I mean, D'Antonio was the biggest name they've had since forever.
Yeah,
And they thought
since
they thought they had a splash hire with Mel Tucker, but we all know what happened with that. So
yeah, since Saban and since the 70s, yeah, they haven't had big names, but yeah, that's the thing, man. They're just not a they're not a program that wants to become known for firing coaches, quickly and having quick triggers. But let's be completely honest. That's what college football has become now that money has entered the equation in such a bigger way than it has. Leases are shorter. Patience is not practiced in college football or college basketball. When you have coaches like Mike Elko finally turning Texas A&M into what they're capable of, you have Signetti completely turning around Indiana. There's examples of coaches doing it in 2 seasons, and so you got to do it in 1 season even. And so you got to do it quickly. I would give Smith another year if he's engaged. Maybe his personality isn't the rah rah type. I get that, not everybody is, but if the athletics department believes in him, give it another year. If they don't, it is time to move on because it can be done in 2 years. It really can be.
but here's the thing, Peter. Out of a high percentage, I would say Signetti's an outlier, dude. Like the biggest outlier we've ever seen. and just like
Perhaps, but I mean, Elko's doing it
he's
in a
like the
program that doesn't.
0.001% of coaches who actually are able to produce those results immediately.
I
To
think
that
if
to that
it can
magnitude.
be done in a program like Indiana, it can literally be done anywhere.
But
That's my prerogative.
he's proven that he is a major winner pretty much everywhere he's been.
He is, and he is a good coach. But my point is, I think if it can be done at that type of program, the losingest program in all of college football history, it can be done anywhere in 2 years. Absolutely, it can. In
But
today's college football world, pre 2021, no. Post 2021, absolutely.
yeah, where the transfer portal and NIL
Yeah.
has run rampant,
If
and there's no law and order. So
But you have to have buy-in for the program. And like you, to your point, I don't think Michigan State has that buy-in for football. For basketball, as long as Izzo is still there, yes, he's going to get the funding. He's going to get the support. Maybe that'll change when he retires, and maybe they'll shift to focus on football again. But we'll see. But how about Brian Kelly, man? Cajun Brian Kelly getting the boot down in Baton Rouge after 3.5 years.
I will say this for any Michigan fans watching: when you think about bashing Ryan Day, just know that there's Brian Kelly out there who deserves all the bashing in the world for the atrocities that he's committed against his own players. Now we're talking about let's go all the way back to the Central Michigan days where he had this party and his assistants who are now NFL coaches. Well, one's a defensive coordinator for the 49ers, one is the Green Bay Packers coach. You have Matt LaFleur, who is the Green Bay Packers head coach, and you have Robert Saleh, who is the defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. Now,
Yeah.
they thought they were invited to one of his house parties, and actually they were put on there as workers, and they were doing valet the whole night. And it gets cold out there in Mount Pleasant those winters, definitely, and they were shoveling and moving cars and stuff.
You know
And
it.
they pretty much said, you know what, if I ever get big time, I'm gonna do this differently. I'm gonna treat my assistants a lot better. And then you have the before he left for LSU, he was actually on the recruiting trail. He was on the recruiting trail,
That story cracks
trying
me
to
up,
land
bro.
this player for Notre Dame, and they were having barbecue. And so they made like these burnt ends where they like steak or something.
Yeah.
I think it was like burnt, like really good steak. And he gets a plate, then he goes back for like 3 servings, and then he's like, and then when he leaves, they get an email or what? Actually, they don't get an email. They see on the
The
news that
news.
he's taking the job at LSU, and he pretty much cleaned him out in the barbecue.
Yeah, bro, just cleaned them out. Just took them for all they had, and I didn't even let them
Yeah.
know that. By the way, I'm not gonna be coaching here anyway.
Yeah. And then, on a more serious note, we're just hearing some crazy things and how he treated players. I mean, there was this player who, really good cornerback, but the moment he had a brain tumor and he had to get surgery and he could no longer play, he didn't hear one thing from Brian Kelly, not one phone call,
Yeah,
not one letter, not one visit, nothing. And that was consistent with another player who I think he tore his hamstring or whatever. And he's
sheesh.
like, yeah, like when I was starting, Kelly and we talked every day. And when I wasn't even couldn't be a part of the team, I didn't hear one thing. And then there was another player who didn't really start, wasn't really I mean, he was on the team, but Kelly didn't make him feel like he was on the team. And they would even pass in the hallway, no hi, nothing.
Yeah, that rubs
Um,
me the wrong way.
and then there was that really serious matter at Notre Dame, that
Mm,
poor young man who, well, back in the day, like he was actually our age. He like this
yeah,
was like back in 2000, what, 10, 11.
and yeah,
So it's like 50, 60 mile per hour wind, and no, they want to put him up. He's like, okay, I want you to film the practice. we're gonna put you up on this high lift. And
Yeah, he's filming it.
he's up there filming and tweeting. What does he end up falling off to his death?
Oh, the high winds.
So
I think the tower fell over, I think, but maybe I'm not sure.
yeah. I mean, dude, even Malik Neighbors got in on it. He had this TikTok video on his Instagram story of someone kicking rocks, pretty
Yeah.
much telling Kelly to kick rocks. And it's just like then I saw this clip of he got into an altercation with one of his assistants against Temple when he was at Notre Dame, and just
Oh,
like people are saying, like, Brian Kelly was a bad football coach, but he's an even worse human being. So
Purple Face Kelly, man. We've known he saw his tirades down on the sidelines in South Bend, and they were legendary at South Bend. There were memes all over the internet about Purple Face Kelly, and every time they show him screaming at a player, is he going to do it again? Is he going to replicate what he did previously? He toned it down a little bit at LSU, but I mean, I've known for a while. I mean, since that 2010 story of the Notre Dame student assistant dying, I knew what kind of type of human being he was, and unfortunately, he doesn't value his players unless they can produce for him, and he's just not a quality human being in my opinion. And
it was,
I mean, I don't know him personally, but I've seen enough. His life is public enough to form at least an opinion on it.
I mean, it was actually a Christmas party during Central Michigan days when he was
Oh man,
Matt LaFleur and Robert Saleh were there. It was a
that's
Christmas party, man.
crazy.
Could you imagine, like, oh my gosh, like we're actually invited to his place for a Christmas party, like, and just like you end up on the work list, dude. Like, what a
That's messed up.
like what a POS.
Yeah,
But
Mark, I was just gonna get to that. So timely. Who do you think takes it, man? We've seen Lane Kiffin as the front runner. Dan Lanning name is being floated out there. What do you think about those candidates, or who do you think actually takes over the position next season?
I mean, why would Dan Lanning leave Oregon? I mean, he has Nike money, never ending NIL money,
No,
and he's got it good at Oregon, dude. Like, what?
they have
Why?
insane facilities.
Why would he leave? Yeah, possibly the best facilities in college football.
He's got it going there. The only thing, the only reason he could potentially consider it is it's a better recruiting base. You have you have Louisiana and Texas right there, border states. Compared with Washington and California is one of the top states too. But that's the only reason I can come up with for Landon going. Any other reason, he absolutely should stay in Oregon.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Lane Kiffin. I mean, dude, like he's proven he's a good football coach. Has he turned the corner on being a great football coach? No.
I
I
don't
mean,
think so.
no, I don't think so. If he would have beat Georgia, then sure.
They
But
had him on the
no.
ropes.
But he's probably a better coach for the SEC than Brian Kelly. That's for sure.
He's a fit in the SEC culture. He is, and I think I think he will get one of these two jobs. I think he'll get to pick. In all honesty, because let's be frank, Ole Miss is not a premier job. It's a place. It's a launching pad. I'm sorry, Dave, but it's a launching pad. It's not a place you stay if you're winning and consistently. He can go to Florida if he wants to, or he can probably go to Baton Rouge if he wants to. It's really going to be his choice, what he prefers. I highly doubt Lane Kiffin is Ole Miss's coach heading into next season.
Yeah, I mean, there's even talks of the Florida job, but
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's
I mean,
going to
I
get the
think it
pick.
was how big was the contract? Like what, $80 million or something?
It's going to be fat, dude. It's going
Yeah,
to be astronomical. It's going to be he's going to be the highest paid coach in college football, which he's
not
absolutely
even
not deserving
deserving of
of.
it. No,
What's that?
not even deserving of it.
Not even close to deserving of it.
How did Billy
So,
Napier even get that job anyways and that contract to be able to stay that long?
yeah, somehow Billy. My goodness, man. Those are two big jobs in the SEC that need They demand head coaches that can deliver results. As we saw, the previous three coaches being Miles, Saban, and of course Orgeron, they all delivered an SEC championship and a national championship. Kelly couldn't do it. He broke the cycle. He broke the streak. Um, they have standards at that program. Like, let's be honest, they're not a historically elite blue blood, but in this century, they have as many titles as we do. So they're an elite program now.
Yeah. Did Ed Orgeron actually win the SEC championship and national championship? Was that actually him? Was it? Can we really say that, he was the
Hey,
main reason why it
he
happened?
hired those assistants. You got to give him credit for that.
Yeah, he did bring in Joe. He brought in Joe Brady. He
Yeah.
did. Which, I mean,
And they
they're
convinced Joe Bird to come to Baton Rouge.
yeah.
So we know what Ed Orgeron is up to now. And they ain't coaching football teams, but you got to give him at least a little bit of credit. Maybe not too much, but at least a little bit.
You know,
Um,
could you possibly see, let's talk a bit for Brian Kelly's possible next landing spot. Could you see him heading to a team like Michigan State?
he could fill in that role, man. I think I was listening to Valenti's show, just a clip earlier today, and they were discussing this too. And one of the hosts thinks he's done. He's done coaching, and because he is going to a no program that's elite, that's competing for national championships, is going to hire him. His reputation is ruined in terms of he couldn't do it in Notre Dame. He couldn't do it at LSU. A big program is not hiring him. And so it is a program like the level of Michigan State or Wisconsin. Will his ego allow him to take a job that's a step down, that's not a serious national title contender? Because I truly believe that no big program is going to hire him.
No, dude. After what happened, then now you have all these players, speaking out about him.
Does he want to coach when you're not competing and serious for national championships? That's the question we're going to have to ask.
I think that, he almost tasted a national championship at Notre Dame. It would be hard for him. That'd be quite the fall from grace to, Notre Dame to LSU, then falling back to, Michigan State.
At his age, taking a downgrade,
or
I don't really see it.
Or even like UCLA, man. Like that could be a possibility.
I could potentially see that because it's a nice place to live.
What about Penn State, dude?
Wow. Can you imagine that Brian Kelly in the Big Ten? That would be fascinating. I'm not going to lie. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Just like, dude, so we talked about last time and how it would be a big risk to fire James Franklin because just like you have someone who, only loses 2 games a year, maybe third game. I think Brian Kelly could keep the program like that. Big possibility. And maybe get them there every once in a while.
I've been adamant in my comparison with Franklin and Kelly. I think they're very similar head coaches. I did a video on his firing, and man, his record versus top 5 teams is 1-17 in his career at Notre Dame and LSU. That's James Franklin numbers right there. That's not an upgrade, if you ask me. That's not an upgrade.
But I'm just saying because we talked about someone who can keep the program, afloat and get there every once in a while.
I think it's honestly, he does have a couple big wins. He has a couple top 10 wins. He does more than Franklin. But I honestly think it would be making the same hire. Like you're getting the same head coach, very different personalities. You're getting the same results, but with an a-hole for a head coach is what you're getting. And I don't think Penn State fans want that.
Who else is out there to take the Penn State job? No, this is a good way to, segue this
Sure.
this offensive coordinator into this possible hire, and that is the rumors of Brian Hartline,
Mm.
uh, taking the interview to be the next head coach at Penn State. And here's my thing on this: he is not leaving Ohio State until at least Jeremiah Smith leaves Ohio State for the draft. Is time winding down in Columbus for Brian Hartline to stay there?
I'd say so.
Absolutely. I'd say so, unless he wants to wait it out to be Ohio State's next head coach, but Day has, other plans in mind. He said he wants to win multiple national championships at Ohio State, and he just what was it, a contract until 2031, 32?
Yeah.
So it's kinda like he's locked in, but is there a clause in there that no coach has to
Oh, yeah.
stay there their entire time. There could be a mutual parting,
He's
but
being he's being paid handsomely at Ohio State,
yeah.
but if he has aspirations to become a head coach, he's absolutely going to leave in the next 1 to 2 years. And to your point, Jeremiah Smith only got a year and a half left of him. That sucks to say, but it's true.
But here's the other thing, man. There could be potentially be a better wide receiver room next year than this year. I mean, dude,
Well, Chris
you have
Henry Jr.
Chris Henry Jr.'s coming in. You have Jeremiah Smith. You have Quincy Porter, Mylan Graham.
Yeah.
I mean, what more? And then you have that who's that guy? Who's Chris Henry Jr.'s teammate? William. I forgot
I'm not
his name.
sure. I'm not sure,
I
but
forgot his name. But you I mean, I just it's hard to imagine him leaving.
well,
It
it is
just
hard to
is.
imagine him leaving, but as we discussed, last night on text, it's very common for position coaches to take players with them to their new destination. And there's nothing saying he couldn't take them to Penn State or wherever he might land. Um, I hope it's not a Big Ten rival because I want to root for the guy. Whenever he leaves, I hope it's out of conference. But let's be honest, his footprint is the Big Ten conference. And so he's more than likely going to get a Big Ten job.
Man, oh my gosh, dude. That would, especially the wide receivers we have coming in.
It would suck to lose Chris Henry Jr. Can you imagine? That'd be
I
horrible.
Dude, I'd be
I don't
sick,
want to think
dude.
about that.
Yeah, I
And I
don't.
guarantee he wants to be coached by Harline. That's why I say, he probably going to take some guys with him on the way out. But because he loves Ohio State, though, maybe not. Maybe not.
Here's the thing. They had this. It was on X, and it was this. Where you get to track the flights. And apparently, Penn State fans had posted a flight for leaving from Columbus to pretty much where pretty much Penn State, and just like, dude, like this is a very important season. This is
Yeah,
possible. This is a team that you cannot no distractions. You can't waste. It'll be hard to get a team like this again. We're talking about multiple first round draft picks on the defensive side of the ball, multiple first round draft picks on the offense side of the ball. This is as talented, determined, focused team as you can get with an all-star
sure.
in terms of coaching as well. I mean, you have Matt Patricia, Brian
Yep.
Hartline, Ryan Day as a head coach, OG Tim Walt.
Yeah.
You have James Laurinaitis, the linebackers coach. You have Matt Guerrieri. You have Larry Johnson. You have Lachlan, dude. I
It's
mean,
probably the best staff we've had since our 2014 national title winning staff, in my opinion, or maybe the 2019 staff as well.
you can't waste this, man. You can't get any distractions. And you know what? He needs if he's has no ambition whatsoever to be the next Penn State head coach, then you need to publicly say that so we can all calm down and your players aren't sitting there wondering if you're leaving or not.
Well, I guarantee it, coaches from other programs are using it negatively against Ohio State right now. I guarantee that's happening. And so I guarantee Brian is addressing it with the recruits that he's
And
trying to bring to Columbus.
And we all know that there's programs who are still going after Chris Henry Jr., which Chris Henry Jr. himself has confirmed that USC and Oregon are still trying to lure him away from Ohio State.
Yeah, it's
Gosh,
true.
I hate Lanning, that little snake.
He's a mouthy little sucker, ain't he?
Yeah,
But he's good for the Big Ten in the fact that he's easy to disdain. He's easy to despise, because he is a
yeah,
cocky SOB. He really is. So, there's no denying that. But the fact of the matter is, if he does have head coach aspirations, he's going to leave, eventually. And it's a tough pill to swallow. The Buckeye Nation is going to be in mourning because he's our beloved son, man. He was here under Tressel as a player, had a prolific NFL career that I didn't see coming, to be completely honest, even though I watched every one of his games. He was amazing in the pros for the Dolphins. And then coming back to coaching for us, man, he's been so good to Ohio State. And I hope he wants to get his feet under him as an OC and as a play caller before he becomes a head coach, because that would give us a few more years than what we're both
yeah.
saying right now.
He needs at least 2 to 3 years as an offensive play caller.
It's a
So,
it's a it's an art form. It's hard to learn.
yeah.
So I think he needs to develop more too. And
But
that's not me just saying that because I want to hold on to him. We need to see more from this offense at times.
yeah,
And so,
here's
especially in the red zone, right?
yes, especially in the red zone. But here's another thing to look at, Peter. There's so many head coach openings at big time
Yeah.
programs. I mean, you have Florida, LSU,
Yeah.
Penn
Penn State.
State.
Florida State's gonna be open.
Yeah, Florida State's going to be open soon. Did I say LSU?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and there's only so many coaches going around that you really want to consider. Is anybody considering James Franklin for a school like LSU or Florida? I I don't know. Probably not. Would he be considered for UCLA? He could, man. He's really good at building up programs. I mean, look who did at Vanderbilt. Look what he did at Penn State after their big scandal. Now, I mean, like, maybe we'll
Maybe
see some assistants get their shot. Maybe some more coordinators get their shot.
Well, we're definitely going to see some people from Georgia's staff, taking a leap. Kirby's tree is blossoming and growing, and Lanning was on that staff, and he's doing, on his staff previously, and he's doing well. So we're going to definitely, excuse me, see some defensive coordinators and offensive coordinators jump to fill some of these head coaching jobs. But I'll push back a little bit on Franklin, and I don't know if I'm founded, too much in this, but like, Florida, I think I could see taking a stab at Franklin. I truthfully could. I really don't think Franklin's going to take a full year off. A lot of coaches do, and they go into the broadcast booth. I could see him doing really well there. He's really personable in the game day interviews I've seen. So maybe he does go that route. But if he doesn't, I could see him returning to the SEC. I think some fan bases would not be happy with that, because he never got over the hump at Penn State. But maybe he can convince an athletic director that he can get over the hump with the resources, with the program behind him. I think he does land at another big time job. I think he lands at a Power 4 job. I don't think it's going to be. He's not going to take a step back like Kelly did. I think he lands another big gig. I'm not sure it'll be this year, but I think it will be. But
You
it
know,
might
you
be a
know,
year off in the studio.
what was interesting? I think it was LSU fans talking about having Fickle come to their program. I mean, dude, if it's true that, if it's true that Fickle
You're
is
right.
just incredible with Wisconsin, he has just figured out that it's not going to get any better. The cupboards are really bare in terms of resources, recruiting, and NIL. And I'm not saying he's not a good head coach.
Yeah,
I mean, he is. I mean, look what we did with Cincinnati,
clearly.
but for different reasons. But LSU has a lot of resources, man. A lot of resources, a lot of money.
Passionate.
Yeah, passionate, dude. I mean, remember, man, the SEC, it just means more. I heard Franklin's I heard for Franklin's Penn State contract, he has to make a good faith job search right away.
That's how it goes. Well,
Dude,
that's how it goes with these things, with these buyouts. It's just like our jobs too. Like if you're not actively looking, you're not going to receive unemployment. And with these, you're not going to receive unemployment from the universities unless you're applying for jobs, interviewing for jobs. So he is going to be going through that cycle. Some coaches, however, play that out and say, "Hey, I'm just here to fulfill a requirement, man. I'm still trying to get paid to go to the Bahamas and play some golf. So don't hire
define
me." But
define a good faith job search, because I heard they only have to pay the difference. So in that case, dude, I get the lowest paid job possible. Just do a bunch of nothing, make my money, and just call it a life, man.
define job search. Yeah.
So what
No,
is the good faith job search saying, like, okay, like you can't go and work at your local grocery store making bare minimum
no, it's a
wage?
football. It's football specific. No, that'd be funny, man. No, he's definitely not going to be turning away millions for a golf cart boy job. That's for sure. But it's going to be interesting because I really do think he lands at a big program. But anyway, man, it's getting pretty late, bro. And my voice is failing me at this point. Um, so I'm going to wrap things up for us tonight. But we appreciate everybody joining us, Mark and Cliff, and everybody else that's watching and not commenting. We appreciate you joining us tonight. We have more content coming out, man. There's some good games this weekend to tune into. Of course, Ohio State, Penn State, like we covered, among others. Cincinnati, Utah getting the game day this week. Pretty interesting choice there. Really interesting choice. Cincinnati actually surprising me because they look like trash in the first game versus Nebraska. But they've really turned it on. So that was the only loss in the season so far. But anyway, that'll wrap it up for this one. Go Bucks and God bless. We will see you on the next one.
OH.
I-O. Let's go Bucks.
Thanks, Cliff. See you tomorrow night, man, for your guys' show.
Heck yeah, bro.